Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Who is Who in America on Alhikmat TV 24/7 online. On today's program, we are very, very, very happy and honored and privileged to have with us Dr. Zev Melman. Welcome to the show, Dr. Zev.
Thank you, Sheikh. Thanks for having me. My name's a little bit of a tongue twist, isn't it?
Yeah, well, but that is realistic. That's no problem. So to our viewers out there, Dr. Zev is a well-known chiropractor, very professional, very international. The whole nine yards go with his package of services, etc. So stay tuned as we talk to Dr. Zev, a busy man, busy schedule. But again, as I said, it's a blessing, it's a pleasure to have him with us in our program. So Dr. Zev, tell us a little bit before we get into your profession and your career. Tell us a little bit about your background, and then we'll get into what motivated you to be a doctor, as a chiropractor, etc. So where you from originally?
Well, I was born and raised in North Miami Beach, okay? And I spent a lot of time there and spent a lot of time just in the South Florida area before going and moving to Atlanta, Georgia, where I ended up in chiropractic school. But a lot of my background blends with what motivated me to be a chiropractor in the first place. My mom was hit by a drunk driver early on when I was a young child, and couldn't walk, couldn't sleep, and was a mother of three boys that were super active and energetic. So she was always trying to be all things, do all things, and still make the business run and make the household run. And she was just having to take, unfortunately, a lot of different medications, to do that. So that was the trade-off there. There's a time and place for everything. She had to be medicated, to go to sleep because she was so uncomfortable. She had to take pain-relieving medications to get through the day, all different types of stuff, So, again, time and place for it, but it's not a long-term win. So long story short, she didn't want anyone touching her neck. But in desperation, after so much time went by, retired chiropractor, offered his services. My mom and dad, actually, to back up, were professional ballroom dancers. So my father owned a ballroom dance studio, like you see Dancing with the Stars, for 40 plus years. It was his heart and soul. And him and my mom met that way. And when my mom couldn't dance anymore because of this, one of the people who enjoyed seeing my mom dance happened to be that chiro. And him offering that service, at first my mom, Sheikh, was like, no one's touching my neck. Are you kidding me? Which, think about it, is totally understandable. Someone's got a lot of pain in their neck. They don't have balance. They're a little disoriented. You don't want anyone getting in there and just putting their hands on it. But finally, after enough peer pressure, she said, fine, I'm not getting results anywhere else. And to come to that, started getting adjusted, started to feel better. Over time, not overnight, because I don't want that to be that type of miracle story. It wasn't. But over time, she was able to take off her cervical collar shake. She was able to restore balance, started to feel better, started to sleep better. The things we know to do when we take care of ourselves, the other dominoes just fall into place.
So Doc, I will have to interrupt here and there because I want our audience, as I said, we got a very, very global audience from all over the world. So I will interrupt as you say things so our audience will get into the conversation and they may have questions in their mind. So tell us, as you go ahead, as I said, I will interrupt and ask this, ask that, so it becomes very conversational and our audience will be as though they are participating. So tell me, what was the age of your mom when she was going through this?
Well, I'm assuming, I don't know off the top of my head the exact age, but I'm going to say like probably late 30s, early 40s.
Right. The reason why I asked that, it's so our audience will know that these things can happen to you at a very young age.
Oh, yeah. Your audience, you guys listening might say, well, that wouldn't happen to me. That's a sad story. And believe me, that's not on the most extreme end. I'm sure we all know people who have crazy stories. It's not that that's such a major, like, oh, my God. But it is a little micro incident that sometimes we don't think about how one little thing, whether it be a trauma, large or small, can influence and impact our health and the way we feel and function, perform at work and as a parent, So, yeah, I mean, it could happen to anyone, and it doesn't have to be, my mom was hit by a drunk driver. And even though the conversation really isn't about that, I see people shake every day that, let's say, it's a coach who's out on the field every day with young kids, training them, inspiring them, bringing them through drills. And then one day they wake up, sleep wrong, and they're not moving the same anymore. So it doesn't have to be something so major. It's a lot of little micros in our life that lead to a major hit in our health and in our body. So like me and you, Sheikh, have talked a lot about just postural positions, how you're constantly reading, studying, working. And
now you have me wanting to sit properly. No, remember, you are my doctor, so I have to sit properly when I talk to you, right? Go ahead.
But it's a good thing because it's people that know you, people that see you, especially in this world, we don't think about how, something so small and maybe insignificant in the moment, like posture, like, for example, not just a slight slouch, but, literally looking down in 60 degrees bent over. Because we don't feel pain in the moment, this is something for your listeners to really get. They think because they don't feel pain now or any check engine lights going off in their body that it's okay. And it's perfectly fine and acceptable until they get to that tipping point to where their body wants to talk back. And one of my jobs or my passions is to kind of point that out before it gets to that point. Most times, people think I'm crazy. They'll be like, oh, Zeb, it's really no big deal. Our body's designed to do that, which it is. But anything repetitive over and over again, getting back to what I was saying earlier about micros, little micros, are building and contributing to inflammation in the body. The listeners and the viewers today, really, if we just remove me even as a chiropractor or a nutritionist, or if I was an exercise physiologist or even a medical doctor, at the end of the day, whether it's what you eat, Sheikh, whether it's the positions we put our body in, everything we're doing is either reducing or adding inflammation to our body, right? So I look at it as a compound effect. I know that inflammation is the precursor to pain. I think that's one irrefutable thing that's agreed by all healthcare professionals, whether they be in the medical model or even outside like myself. We know inflammation drives pain. We know it drives disease and disease in the body. And we know that repetitive bad postures of any type contribute to that pool of inflammation. No different than if you were going to drive through fast food every single day, right? Can your body handle it? Of course. Can you live on it? Many people do. But it doesn't discount the fact that it's adding inflammation to their body, and inflammation, again, is the precursor to pain, to dysfunction, to low energy levels, to weakening our vitality, to hormones, to all these different things. So my tie-in, so people know, is how do the mechanics in the body influence inflammation and are driving things like pain or discomfort? And the Kickstarter for me, circling back around now, was my mom's episode, was my mom's story. But I happen to have my own, and they crossed paths a couple years later.
So what really motivated you? Well, before I get into what motivated you, I wanted to ask you, you said your mom was a dancer, your dad a dancer. So are you also a dancer?
Yeah, I could shake it up.
Okay. Okay.
I can move.
Beautiful. So what really motivated you to become a doctor, chiropractor, qualified in this very unique profession?
It's an obvious question, but I'm really glad you asked it because my mom's story wasn't my motivating factor, in honesty. I was too young to really admire that and to see like, oh my God, So what happened years later is out of nowhere, no pain or discomfort, I developed a breathing problem. I start to show signs of asthma. So out of nowhere, this happens. My mom brings me to the doctor. They auscultate my lungs, listen to my breathing, my respiration, take my vitals, and say to my mom, look, it sounds like he has asthma. Here's a prescription for inhaler. Take this and let me know if you have any problems, but this should do the job. Again, thank God for medicine. When we needed it, did its job and it worked. But Sheikh, one medicine, one inhaler led to a second inhaler. So now I'm on two different inhalers. And with two different inhalers are steroids. So what our body does with steroids is it's toxic to the liver. So I started to actually get bad skin. So now I'm having breakouts in my skin, and now I'm about 14, 15 years old. So now what happens is I'm starting to have interest in dating women and girls, and that chapter of my life, along with sports and still learning and studying all these things in high school. So it just was a tough time. I wasn't breathing well. My skin gets bad. And then another thing, and I know all your listeners and anyone who has breathing difficulties or history of asthma will relate to this, is it's easy for us to get bronchitis and pneumonia. So I actually started to get sick and run down more often. But it started with just shortness of breath. And then a little thing, and it just progressively got worse. So my mom going, look, I see the direction this is going in. I don't see it being a long-term solution. Chiropractic helped me. Let's see if maybe it could help you. So she brought me to the chiropractor. The chiropractor takes a look at my spine, motions it, checks it, notices I have a lot of restriction in my joints of my back. One of the ways you can do that, the way, guys, our spine is built, is it's built like there's a baseline. There's a normal function for our spinal joints. So when we go in and we start to push on them and move them and test them, it should be like a spring, kind of like if a mechanic was to check a car. There's a coil, there's a spring. And if the spring's doing its job, we'll have a nice even distribution, because joints, like springs on cars and any other type of mechanical part, are absorbing force. And one of the jobs of our joints is to absorb force. So she gets in, I'm a young kid, 14, 15, she's going in and she's motioning my spine. She's putting movement into it, not adjusting it, just checking the tissue around my spine, feeling these shocks and these absorbers. And she's like, Deb, man, it is locked up in there. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And she starts pushing in, and as she's pushing in, this is a really key point I want people to relate to, especially guys. Because with guys' mentality is, if it's not killing me or broken down on the highway, I don't care. I'm fine. So I didn't have any back pain, but as she started to motion in on these springs and shocks, I actually had a lot of discomfort. It was really uncomfortable. And now looking forward, with the education that I have, I noticed that dentists also use very similar analogies when explaining dental hygiene, and it's not really talked about a lot. So for example, if someone has a problem in their mouth, like in their tooth, right, they might not have any pain. But if a dentist goes and puts a hot or cold sensation on the tooth, all of a sudden it elicits a pain. But a healthy tooth won't have that response. So it's a sign of assessing if there's any type of problem or dysfunction in someone's mouth. If we take that same concept and bring it to the back, as someone's pushing down on our spine, not hard, but motioning it, and we have dysfunction, or we have pain, then it's an indicator that something underneath that tissue is probably not working in tip-top shape. And that's what was going on. But again, because they listened to my lungs and didn't listen to my back, it was hard to kind of connect the two. But what I don't want people to walk away from, Sheikh, is think that this woman adjusted my back, and all of a sudden I walked out and I was cured of asthma, because I wasn't.
So I have two questions. We already 15 minutes in our conversation, so we have to go on a short break. But it shows how interesting this issue is. We have to go on a short break for a couple of seconds, and when we come back, we'll continue the conversation. But on a short note here, when we come back, I want to talk about that. However, you mentioned about your breathing at 14, 15 years. It seems as though when you saw all these beautiful girls around, you started breathing more, and that's how you realized you couldn't breathe properly, right? then
I couldn't keep up.
You couldn't keep up.
I couldn't keep up.
And then you went to a lady chiropractor. Well, I have only heard of male chiropractors, but I never heard of ladies. So that is interesting. I suppose that's why you got healed, because you went by a lady chiropractor. But that is interesting. When we come back, we want to continue on this conversation, because it's all about what happened to you and then what led you and motivated you to becoming a doctor. the chiropractor, and I know you are very popular. You have all these famous people that come by you. So we'd also want you to share a little bit of some of your clients, and so it can motivate some of our audience and viewers out there. So to our viewers, again, we've been talking to Dr. Zev Melman, a very well-known, famous chiropractor here in South Florida. So stay tuned. When we come back, we will continue this conversation with him so we can benefit and learn a lot from his experience and his services that he offers to the world at large.
Assalamu alaikum. Allah gives hikmat, wisdom, to whomsoever He wills. And whomsoever is given wisdom is certainly given a lot of good. Only the people of understanding will benefit from the reminder. Tune in to Alhikmat TV for khutbahs, lectures, and Islamic reminders. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
In the Quran, in chapter 5, verse 67, Allah tells the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Ya ayyuhar Rasul, balligh ma unzila ilayka min rabbik, wa in lam taf'al, fama balagta risalatahu. Very deep. Allah tells the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to spread the message of the Quran. And he told the Prophet, and if you do not spread the message, you did not fulfill the mission of the messenger. So you and I are followers of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If we can afford one Quran, help us join in distributing the Quran. So if you can't afford one Quran, do it. $3. 10 Quran, $30. 100 Quran, $300. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Who is Who in America on Alhikmat TV 24/7 online. Once more, it is a pleasure to have with us in today's program Dr. Zev Melman, a well-known chiropractor here in South Florida. So stay tuned as we continue our conversation and discussion with him on his profession, his career, his services, and the kind of benefits that people get from a chiropractor doctor. So welcome back to the show, Dr. Zev.
Thank you so much. So we left off talking about the chiropractor that I had as a child was a female, was a woman.
Yes.
And I want to touch on that. I know you said you didn't even know that was a thing. And my life actually, I'm a mama's boy. So, to me, my mom is everything. Obviously,
right.
But, interestingly enough, a lot of people, Sheikh, think the same thing. Like, especially if you know me and you see how I do chiropractic, and adjust people, you think, man, can a woman do that? Move, hundreds of people around and adjust the way I adjust? And my answer is yes. But the beautiful thing about adjustments and taking care of people is I offer one type of food. But there's lots of different ways to serve it,
right.
And there's lots of different paths, people can take. So if someone doesn't want to be so, have such a laborious kind of path, then there's other techniques and ways to serve and accommodate people. But the first chiropractor I ever had was a woman. And I think back now and I'm like, man, at the time when she was a chiropractor, it had to be so hard, because one, we already think like, is this more of a male profession than it is female dominated? And two, is can a female do something like that? And this was really in the 80s, or like early 90s. And I would hear stories from my mom, even how it was hard for her to get into certain places because they would say, oh, Sari, we just want you to do this. Just be this. It was about putting them in a box, so to speak, during that time. I would hear that as her son. She would have these conversations. So I can imagine because chiropractic isn't always had the best popularity, or the best brand recognition. There's a lot of confusion around what it is. Some people haven't had great experiences. So Sheikh, to make the point, being a female on top of all of that, I can imagine how hard that was for her. But I got to tell you, awesome chiropractor, did an amazing job, really helped me not only breathe better, but feel better and explain it to me in a very easy way that kept me committed and motivated to want to get adjusted and see it through. So over time, I started to breathe better. But another interesting point is I have a brother who's a chiropractor, and there is a point when he blew out his back. He could not walk. He needed assistance, someone under each arm. Nobody would touch him. They said, your back is bad. You probably need surgery. Looks like you got herniated discs. He went for MRIs. He went to all these different docs. The only chiropractor who was confident enough to touch and adjust and help him was a female chiropractor.
Oh,
how awesome is that?
That is interesting. That is interesting.
Right?
I mean, that's why I ask you. I've never seen or met a female chiropractor. And I was wondering, I mean, with all this twist and body movement that you have to do to all these different size of people, because when I come by your office, I see all different levels and size of people. And I'm like, how do you handle that? Now, how a woman is going to handle that? But I think it's all about the art, right?
It is. There's definitely the art, and it's totally a legit question because the way I do it is hard. It's not easy, you know, so it could break someone down fast and it could burn them out quick. And then one last thing I just want to share about that, because I want to one up and raise up all the women, is one of my favorite chiropractors that I used to get adjusted by. This was years later. I was already in my 20s, was also a female chiropractor. She was phenomenal. Again, like you said, Sheikh, it's an art. It's like a sport. It's something you have to practice. And if your heart and soul is in it and you practice, you're able to bypass body sizes with angles and speed and impulses that all make a difference. I know from the outside it's like, really? But it really does. It makes a big difference. So, you know, women are just as effective, if not sometimes more powerful, because they might have some traits and gifts that most men don't have. So they maybe bring double to the table. I'm not sure. I like to think I'm the ultimate package, but I am a mother's boy. And I know if my mom was a chiropractor, she would have been better than me.
Right. And I suppose when these men go by these ladies, chiropractors, you know, they'll be too shy to scream. And when she's about to twist your neck, and you're going to have to be like a man and take it as it is. Whereas, I mean, that's just a talk about it. Yes.
Do you want to, I'll give you one example of what it was like for my brother getting adjusted. He was already, by the way, in his 20s too. So this isn't like a child story. The chiropractor we would go to, the only person, not just woman, that would adjust him, that said, I could help you and let's see this through. She had a room office, like the size of my one adjusting room, right? Not the size of my office. She had maybe a 10 by 14 size room, one table in the middle so the audience and the listeners can visualize this, one flat bench table and chairs all around the table. So when you came in, you were sitting down and you would have been, Sheikh, right near, let's say you'd grab a seat near my brother's legs. Like you were that close, like an IMAX theater for adjusting. Like there was no space, no walls in between, nothing. One room, one bench, maybe 20 chairs around. So especially with my brother having bulging discs and herniated discs, he would go to adjust him. And my brother would be like, screaming in discomfort. And then, you know, that initial, you know, pain and then that release, that breakthrough. So I get what you're saying, but yeah, in a situation like that, you're just letting it rip. You know, when you're in a lot of discomfort, you don't care what people think at the moment.
Yes. So bottom line, this is very motivational. You got motivated by being treated by a chiropractor. Your brother got motivated to become a chiropractor because he was treated by a chiropractor. I mean, that is a real story. That is very, very realistic.
Yeah. Well, you know, I like to always, you know, tell it just as it is. And a lot of times people don't realize that. You know, when I was in chiropractic school, Sheikh, the first quarter, a teacher, not in a science class or an anatomy class or anything like that, but like the philosophy class of intro, you know, say, hey, raise your hands. How many of you have been impacted by chiropractic before you came into school? 70, 80% raised their hands. So it's one of those professions that you're not motivated really by money. because you're not guaranteed a check. You don't have hospitals cutting you six figures, and saying, let's get you into the system and get you working, It's really a heart and soul profession the majority of the time, especially the way I do it. A lot of listeners might already be turned off by the word chiropractic because so many people do it in a way that, isn't really attractive. They're ambulance chasing, they're car accident chiropractors. There's all different types that people have been exposed to, so they're like, this is the same old, same old. But I got to tell you, the same thing that attracted me to want to be it, the same thing that helped my mom, that helped me, that helped my brother, we take all of that emotion and we put it into the way I practice. And that's what allows me to serve people the way I do. It's beyond, at this point, business. It's really just continuing every day to give people a new experience, a different experience, and share the art that I've put a lot of work into with people, of all different sizes. To give you an idea, last night I finished up at 7:30, and I get a call from a musician, like an artist, a rapper, and his producer says, hey, our squad needs to be adjusted, but he's in a lot of discomfort. Is there any way we could work something out to where you can come by the studio and take care of him? So I sit and I'm like, okay, let me take a breather. I say, you know what? Let's make this happen. Let's show up big, because I know in the past, this producer has told me this guy's had a negative experience. So I was more motivated to give him a new experience than I was to have the transaction. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of like religion and practice. Sometimes people can be turned off by it, but then they find a guy like you who can connect the dots and bridge things together in a different way, and it helps us think about it different. So we have a different experience. So that's kind of my motivator on why I adjust the way I do and why I serve people the way I do, and why I'll go outside the clock. That's why I was saying that. Like, it would have been easy to just say I'm going home, but
Right.
I wanted that I wanted opportunity. I wanted to earn it with people that I feel need that experience,
Right.
Does that make sense?
Superb. A lot of sense. And I wanted to share with you that, I have always been told by people I should go and see a chiropractor for many, many years. And I don't want to say this because I'm not saying this because I'm talking to you, but I did go to 2 chiropractors. They were good, but it didn't really motivate me much. But, thank God, when I started coming by you, I did really feel much better because, as you know, I sit for hours in meditation, in teaching our religious classes, when you teach the Quran, and sometimes you lecture, you're sitting in this gathering, so, I do feel, a great relief when I come by you on a weekly basis and you do whatever adjustment you have to do. It has really, really benefited me. And that's why, I thought that we should share your experience with the world. As you said, you do this as a profession, as a career, so other people can benefit from your services. And I thought that we can let the world know of this benefit that people can get from you. But before we continue, Dr. Zev, in a couple of seconds, could you tell us, just for the benefit of our viewers, because of the fact that a lot of people have these little misconception about a chiropractor and chiropractic, etc. So we have already heard about basically what motivated you to become a doctor, chiropractor. What is the little process in doing it? You go to a college, you take this course, you get a degree, so that our viewers can understand this is not just something that people pick up on the side of the road.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely don't pick it up on the side of the road. My education is roughly, my student loans averaged at about $250,000.
Wow.
$250,000. I won't go into a lecture of how it parallels very well, and sometimes even in surplus added hours of things like anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, biomechanics, neurology, and certain aspects of physiology, etc. Because they have more in some and we have, more hours in others. comparing it to the typical medical model. But the reality is I took a YouTube course and I just was blessed to be very good. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
you go. Did I get you there for a second?
Yeah.
So you need a 4-year degree to get in. It's a graduate school. It's a doctorate level education. Once you get that 4-year degree and you get your prereqs done, you enter in, they accept you, you go through it just like medical school. And where it really starts to change educationally is when medical doctors start to study pharmacology. We're going to start to get hands-on with techniques in labs and dissection even, so we can start to match textbooks to actual human bodies. And then we can take that as a clinician and bring it into labs and get hands-on and start to kind of get a feel for how we can influence all this amazing human software that the body has. But that's really where it branches off. So it's a 4-year education, doctorate level, very expensive. And that's how you do it. That's how you go to chiropractic school. It's a university, it's a school. It's come such a far way. That would be a whole nother hour.
Right.
But Jake, I don't know if you know this. I know when I mentioned my first chiropractor was a woman, you said, I didn't know that. Well, here's something else most people don't know. Chiropractors were thrown in jail for years, for over a decade, for doing what I do with you once a week when I see you.
Oh,
Nothing's
wow.
changed. They weren't doing anything different. I might have modernized it and made it better, but they were doing what I do when I adjust you. Can you imagine that? They were getting paid nothing, but they were so committed to the cause that they could help people in a unique way, not to replace medicine, guys. Adjustments aren't about being better than another doctor. It's not about replacing your favorite doctor or any procedure or any drug. It's just about adding another branch to someone's healthcare team that could influence their quality of life. That's what I want a viewer like yours to take away from this. This is really about quality of life. And drugs and medicine will never fix lifestyle imbalances that led people to take medicine for that, And that's where chiropractic shows up big, huge, which I'll get into now, the benefits. When someone's getting adjusted, whether it's in the early, 1900s or they're getting adjusted today, the benefits remain the same. The thing is, what I want people to understand, if I could take you through steps, okay, so we don't fluff it, is that our spine, our backbone, isn't just an organ or a structure that's holding us upright. It mechanically moves. And when it moves, it's sending information to our brain and to a system in the body called our central nervous system. It's the ultimate software in the body. I look at the spine personally as the hardware. It's like the casing on our phone. It's protecting the software on the inside. Now, when our spine isn't in the best position or it's not moving the way it should, I use an analogy like a sliding door. The door should always slide and glide, right? But when it's older, when there's debris in the tracks, it's kind of sticky in the way it moves. It doesn't move very well. Still does the job, it just doesn't do it as well. And that's the day-to-day micros I was talking about earlier, Sheikh. So I'll connect those dots. It's every day of Sheikh and all of the people out there, the mothers like Sarah and Niamat and you, that we're looking down and we're working hard, and we're working hard on a backbone that isn't moving as well as it should. Now, what that does for us is it creates a cascade or a domino effect where the body then starts to create more stiffness around the area as a walling off mechanism or protection. The word for that is called scar tissue or adhesions or fibrosis. Now, when that happens, it also further limits mobility in the joint. So it's like, because we became stiff from repetitive movements, we then became stiffer from the body's reaction to that. Ultimately, this leads to inflammation. Inflammation is driving pain, but it also affects other things. It's never just one thing. With the body, it's multiple things. It's always multifactorial. So I'm inflamed, low-grade inflammation. Now I start to get less circulation. So now my tissue that I'm using all the time, it's not getting good blood supply. because my spine is stressed, my joints are jammed, and my body is inflamed. You see how that works?
Yes, yes. When you mention that, it brings me back to something I told you when I came to get adjusted by you, and I'm just smiling.
Tell me.
Because I sit for many, many, many hours. I love
Yes, you do.
driving. I will drive for days. I'm driving from here to one end of America to the next end of America. So you could understand what's happening with my spine. And that,
Yeah.
what you just said, answers why I'm always asking my children to walk on my back, to give me a massage on my back, give me, do some boxing on my neck, because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so irritated and I need some movement. And you
Yeah.
are totally
Can I
right.
pause? Can I pause there for a second?
Yes.
Because you're hitting, I want to really make sure, I want people to know, like, I'm not forbidding that, because there's all these little, like stereotypes or comments that happen with, like, oh, chiropractors say this and that. Innately, guys and Sheikh, you want someone to twist your back, to walk on your back,
Yeah.
to use your back like a punching bag, because innately, internally, your body wants the release. It's trying to open up. It doesn't care how it gets it. I care how it gets it. But your body's like, just do something to free up my software, please, to get the blood flowing again. Make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's why people, and your listeners, they're probably cracking their own necks and backs. They're twisting. They're asking people to walk on their backs. And you know what? It's not the worst thing in the world. Obviously, you don't want to be cracking your neck and back all the time, but it should be a call to action that what's really going on is that's a check engine light for your back is not functioning right. Your joints are jammed and they need to be moved. Now, to elaborate on what I was saying, because I said, okay, your joints get stiff and they don't move good. And when the body doesn't move good, it says, okay, something's wrong. So it starts a process. That process leads to inflammation and it affects things like circulation, right? But what's the next thing that happens? Because when we adjust, what is it actually even doing that's different than someone walking on your back or someone putting a needle in your skin or massaging you? And by the way, I'm not negative on any of that, but I do want to separate and create some clarity on what's the difference between me adjusting someone's spine and someone getting walked on or a needle in their muscle or a massage in their soft tissue or their muscle. Nothing adjusts and moves the joint like an adjustment. They've tested it over and over again. They've studied it. The brightest minds, the scientists, all the clinicians. It might not be popular right now, in the mainstream media, but it will continue to push through and persist and see the light of day, just like chiropractic has from the years when we were thrown in jail for adjusting people and just trying to help. The adjustment sets off the deepest level of positive input into the central nervous system, into our software, deeper than anything else. They've tested it against massage. They've tested it against acupuncture, and nothing shows up better and bigger and has a deeper chemical reaction in the body than an adjustment. Not to compare the two, because I love them all. But if I had to say for someone listening, no, I'll just go get my trap rubbed and call it a day, you might be calming down the pain for a second, but you're not improving spinal health. And if I take that to teeth, it's no different than me saying, you know what, my tooth is killing me. What I'll do is I'll put some tea tree oil on it, maybe a little clove oil to numb it. Hey, maybe I'll even rinse with some tequila or some whiskey to numb it, because there's all types of things out there, but it doesn't address the health of the gum in the tooth, right?
Brilliant.
I could even put a mouth guard on and cover it, but it does not address the roots. And chiropractic adjustments maintain healthy spinal movement and alignment, which when done consistently compounds in a way that shows up way bigger for people than just a relaxed trap muscle, or a stiff neck. And that's where I try to take people is enjoy the journey. Make it a part of your lifestyle. Let's get away from just making it a natural Advil. Let's turn this into a multivitamin. Let's enjoy, I look at, like, for example, a mom caring for a child, and if she's listening right now, she knows what it's like carrying the child all day, serving the child, dressing the child, changing the child. If I adjust that mom and she's like, oh my God, and it resets everything for her, right? And it gives her a new foundation to say, I can show up now and have a great attitude, good energy, and be a great mom again. Should it stop there? No, because life isn't going to stop for her. So why should we stop it? Where did that even come from? This mentality of like, let's put out the fire, and then let it be. What happened to optimization? When I see you in my office, Sheikh, I could testify that you're always studying. I've never seen you not look down. Like you're always working on your craft, So you don't look and read the Bible or the Torah or the, what's the book?
The Quran.
Sorry.
The Quran.
The Quran. You don't read the Quran, or anyone. No one reads the Quran and then says, okay, I get it. You constantly go back to it, right, Sheikh?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's something that's ongoing. It's forever. And that's how I'd like to take healthcare for the spine. Let's take it beyond neck and back pain. Let's take it to, there's a time and place for neck and back pain. Of course, we all have it. I even have it. But if we could take it beyond that, then we could start to understand the Quran the way you do. And then you could take that back into the world and really help people in a different way. Not just topically. I hate this topical stuff. I'm really not attracted to it. I like the depth. I like relationships. I got a big heart. That's why I like to serve so many people. I'm not happy with 10 people. I want to serve as many people as I can. I'm an interaction guy. I
realize that you are really so. I know we have actually gone 5 minutes beyond our 15 minutes in the second segment. That's no probs. We want everybody to know the real facts about a chiropractor and the services you offer. So when we come back after the short break, Dr. Zev, we want to talk a little bit in the next 10 minutes or so about, I know this may be a little controversial, but I love it. I know it's not that you doing it, but I'm asking the question as the host of the show that maybe about people who have been locked up for doing chiropractic service. I want to talk about that just for a couple of seconds, because I want to think that the people who were behind that didn't like the fact that you all go to the root of the problem. Because when you solve a pain and an ache from the spine and the root of the problem, then other people who use basic symptom medication, they lose business, all right? That's one point. Then another thing I want to mention that I've seen by you, I didn't see you do it because you do it in your private practice, but I see people come with dogs by you. And I have heard that you also do practice on these animals and you get them better.
Yeah.
Plus, I want to also, in the next 10 minutes, ask you about some of your famous clients that you have that come by. So we got to go on a short break. And when we come back, we got about 10 minutes only to wrap that up. And our viewers worldwide, I'm sure that they're mesmerized with your knowledge, your experience, your advice. So we should be having a lot of people calling your office for services. So to our viewers out there,
No, I'll wait till I'll wait to. I want to bring it all together, everything in one shot, so people could really, it's a lot to digest. I get it, it really is. But I want to make sure I wrap it up beautifully for you guys, so when they walk away, they're empowered, they're educated, and they're motivated to just take better care of themselves, even if it's not starting with me.
Beautiful. So viewers out there, again, we have been talking to Dr. Zev, a well-experienced, qualified chiropractor. So stay tuned. When he comes back, we'll continue this discussion with him on how people can benefit from chiropractic services. Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum. Allah gives hikmat, wisdom, to whomsoever He wills. And whomsoever is given wisdom is certainly given a lot of good. Only the people of understanding will benefit from the reminder. Tune in to Alhikmat TV for khutbahs, lectures, and Islamic reminders. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
In the Quran, in chapter 5, verse 67, Allah tells the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Ya ayyuhar Rasul, balligh ma unzila ilayka min rabbik, wa illam taf'al, fama balagta risalatahu. Very deep. Allah tells the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to spread the message of the Quran. And he told the Prophet, and if you do not spread the message, you did not fulfill the mission of the messenger. So you and I are followers of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If we can afford one Quran, help us join in distributing the Quran. So if you can't afford one Quran, do it. $3. 10 Quran, $30. 100 Quran, $300. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Who is Who in America on Alhikmat TV 24/7 online. Once more, it's a pleasure to have with us Dr. Zev on today's program. Those of you who have just tuned in, well, we had a wonderful conversation with him and have learned a lot, and I'm sure our viewers worldwide benefiting a great deal from this program. So welcome back to the show, Dr. Zev.
Thank you.
Good. So as we said, very briefly, I know you professionally and diplomatically wouldn't want to say this, but I want to think that after listening to you, that your profession deals with the root of the problem, the spine, the bones, whatever may be the case, and hence other people may probably try to put a spoke in the wheel. That's why they would want to lock up some chiropractors, because they're taking our business from other people who just put a little solution and medication on the top of the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're definitely right in one sense, and I thought that for a while as well. I also think there's some other things, just like I was saying earlier about how, health is multifactorial. I think there's a lot of factors. I think any doctor means well, loves their clients, went to school, highly educated to try to help people, but they get caught in the model. So I think that doctor is just a small cog in the wheel, I don't think it affects, obviously, the economy of the pharmaceutical companies, because it's so big nowadays. And even earlier on, I think it was one part affecting business, one part full just, I'm not aware of what adjusting does, so I forbid it. I don't know what it is, so they just would totally forbid it, And then it's another part just ego, probably, So a combination of maybe those two or three things is probably what led people to act the way they did. I always like the underdog story. If your audience goes to Google and Googles chiropractic versus the AMA, which stands for the American Medical Association, the largest lobbying body for medicine, a group of small chiropractors took them to the Supreme Court for this exact same issue, and they won. And the Supreme Court found the AMA guilty of trying to badmouth and dismantle or belittle the profession of chiropractic when it was a separate and unique thing. But doctors for the longest, not so much anymore, would say, oh, they're practicing medicine without a license. And their response or retaliation was always, hey, look, we're not practicing medicine, we're adjusting spine. But at the time, there wasn't a lot of information check on how the mechanics influence our health. Mechanics being our bones, our joints, our posture, In medicine to this day, they still compartmentalize. They part and piece everything together. So, a neck problem can't influence the back. The heart isn't influenced by anything. They separate everything. We take man apart and then we treat those symptoms. In one sense, I'm hesitant to say, yeah, we do get to the root, because we do. But the root is multiple things. But we get to the root of the mechanical problem in the spine that does connect to other aspects of human or systemic health. There's a connection between your nerves and your digestive system, between headaches and your spine. There's connections. Does it mean, though, that someone has a bone in their neck and like a power panel, I just hit it and it turns off the headache? Of course not. But if we get back to what I was teaching earlier about how a lack of movement or alignment in the spine influences a process that makes us stiffer, that affects inflammation, that affects circulation, these things over time in the micro, over time lead to a macro and create a systemic health problem. So when we get to that problem, we then go, well, what do I do to treat this problem? And I'm the crazy chiropractor just saying, hey, look, if we trace this all back, there is a connection between the spine and this body part. Does it mean when I adjust this will clear up? No. But will it influence you in the short term and the long term? Yes. Does it mean you need nothing else? No, not at all. But it's a great long-term strategy to make sure you're covering all your bases to get healthy. So in one sense, it absolutely addresses the roots.
Right.
Now think about this first. These chiropractors were thrown in jail, and their patients would go outside and hold up signs saying, "Let my chiropractor go. Let my chiropractor go." There's documents. There's photography of this. You know, how passionate does a man or a woman have to be to go to jail getting paid pennies to come out and say, instead of going, I think I need a different career, they go, no, I want to work harder. I want to do this again. I need to reach more people.
Wow.
Think about that.
That is really, really interesting. That is phenomenal. But
Yeah.
Dr. Zev, I wanted to also ask you, in your profession, can you name a few of your prominent, I always hear from people, some of these prominent, whoever in the athletic field who come by you for your services?
Yeah, I'll share a couple. So, you know, for the longest time, I never adjusted a name, you know, a name brand, let's say, you know, a person in big in the media. I've always been a general pop guy, but I feel that was my past for a reason. My care never got better. I feel that I was the same and I delivered the same care when I first graduated school that I do right now to you. I didn't like have a tipping point and have a breakthrough. I really feel like that's always who I've been and how I've delivered care. I'm saying it for a reason though, because for the longest time, I served the people, and I still do. That's where my passion is. But I feel I was tested in that way, so I didn't get seduced by chasing or being entertained by adjusting entertainers. Because now my heart and soul still isn't in the entertainers. It's in the general pop. So I feel my past made me like so solid on that, you know, so convicted to that emotion. But I mean, I adjust, boxers like Deontay Wilder, I've been able to have a great relationship with and been referred to by Coach Joey Scott and his people. DJ Khaled, Kodak Black are two entertainers down in Miami that have gotten care by me and I'm super happy and clean the slate for them and give them a different experience. Both amazing guys. Both weren't, I think, I'm going to assume based on what I heard in my experience with them, they weren't maybe the biggest fans of chiropractic either. So this kind of gets into what I was saying earlier about my drive to clean the slate. I was able to show up big for them, give them a different experience. Both of them super happy and grateful, and I'm grateful too to be able to take care of them and talk to them and communicate with them. Lots of different entertainers and rappers. Those are just two, you know, fairly recently. Lots of athletes.
Yeah, I know. I hear you do your chiropractic with boxers and wrestlers and all these kind of professionals. Yeah.
Yeah, all types. Shaq when he's in town, you know, Shaquille O'Neal comes by the office. You know, legends like Jason Taylor, Hall of Famers, him and his family, you know, they get adjusted regularly. You name it. I mean, it's one of the, Brandon Marshall gets adjusted. You know, he's a big name and a great person. I've got to know him. You know, so I know these are people that will know their names. There's so many of them.
So I gotta feel very privileged that I'm coming by you as a doctor and chiropractor when you treat all these superstars, international superstars, right?
Yeah, I shy away from that though. You know, like I get it. You know, it's funny. I'll share something with you actually real quick, okay? Is the general population, you know, I call them community. The community loves to see the entertainment world, whether it be rapper, actor, athlete, and I adjust all of them, get adjusted. And even though my heart's in the community, I find it interesting that they like to see them get adjusted. But what's not talked about is the entertainer, the actor, the athlete, the rapper, the artist. They love to see the community get adjusted. And that's how I get linked up with them. Most of the time, like even DJ Khaled. DJ Khaled mentioned to me, he said, man, it's really beautiful to see you work on these people that are suffering. You know, I really love to watch these people get adjusted. I see it's more than just a crack video. You know, it's people really being impacted by your work, and I really love that. And looking back, I'm like, you know what? This guy has his heart and soul in his work, you know, and he impacts people every day, and he was super kind with me. You know, I can see now the connection between them here at the top of their level and the top of their mountain, right? And then they're seeing, you know, us in a different world, and it's a reciprocal appreciation.
Definitely.
So I get it. I love that, you know, because it's just not talked about, but they love seeing those people, those everyday people get worked on just like they want to be worked on. And I do nothing different. I don't have a bag of tricks that I use for Shaq that I don't use for Shaikh, you know, it's all the same.
Good. So tell us, because we're in a countdown, with a couple of seconds countdown, you know, we can have another show and go in more details on different aspects in the future. So tell us, before we conclude the program, Dr. Zev, we got to talk a little bit of what you do with animals in just a couple of seconds. And I want our viewers, as I said, we got viewers all over the world, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, the Caribbean, Africa, East, West, North, and South. So if someone wants to get in contact with you, I know that they will contact us in Alhikmat TV, Alhikmat Studio, and we will refer them to you. But if someone wants to get to you directly for consultation, or they're visiting the United States of America or Florida, and they want to come and consult to get some of your services, what's the easiest thing they can do?
The easiest thing is call the office, send us an email, send us a message through Instagram. All of our platforms have our calendar so they can see our availability, which unfortunately I know is very far out right now, very far out. But they should connect. If they want me, specifically me, then they need to start the conversation by picking up the phone, sending an email, or looking at our calendar. I know we're like 8 months plus out right now.
Allah, when you mean 8 months, if someone wants to make an appointment, they gotta be on a 8 months wait.
I think it's like March right now. I don't know how many months that is, but it's like March or next. But Sheikh, the reason I'm saying start the conversation is because life happens, people reschedule, people cancel, and then want to rebook, you know. So things open, but if they start the conversation, my team knows them and then says, okay, the minute we have something, I'm going to try to work him in. I know they need the care, and we're going to get them started in the process. But It doesn't have to be me. I recommend for your viewers, one is, guys, I do adjust animals. And the reason we adjust them and check them is the same reason why we check humans. They have spines. Spines get stiff. Everyone knows big dogs especially have hip and low back problems as they progress. Well, where do those problems start from? How many times does a dog fall? How does a dog run and walk? How are their mechanics, their movement? How does that translate into the way the dog feels and functions? My vet personally is a big advocate of natural health. It doesn't mean he doesn't offer other options, but my vet, for example, uses lasers when you don't want to use drugs, you know, dangerous steroids that have toxic effects. So, you know, you want to look up, the best thing to do is, it's not about me. There's other chiropractors who adjust animals that are certified. I have postgraduate training in that, you know, so I took my chiropractic education, got with a vet, and the vet was teaching courses to make us more familiar with animal anatomy and physiology. But they're all throughout the world. They really are. It's not just me. They can Google that. There's vets that adjust, and there's chiros that work with vets to adjust. So it's not something that I created or I do. My heart would say, just Google, find someone in your area and start to explore and see if it's a right fit for them. See if that person delivering care is a right fit for them, and entertain it. But to give you an idea, I have 2 dogs. I personally adjust my dogs every single week. And I don't charge for my clients their animals adjusted. It's a pro bono service that I do just because I love to do it. And I don't see a fee associated to it. I just, I'm not trying to make money from adjusting animals. I just want to help only my clients. I only take care of my clients' animals when their vet says, hey, I'm okay with this and this is legit and I see a reason for it. We get together and we make sure that it happens,
Wow. Thank you very much, Dr. Zev.
So,
Well,
but
we...
dogs love it. Dogs love it. If you go to my page, my Instagram page, Dr. Zev TV, we don't always post animals because it's not an all-the-time thing. But you could definitely, if you scroll through, people can see, like if this is they're just hearing it for the first time, they can go and see. It's really quick, but they can see the dog's reactions to it are quite comical and cool at the same time.
Superb. Well, we have come to the end of the show, Dr. Zev Melman. It's a pleasure. It was a blessing to have you with us and on this show. So as we conclude, you got a couple seconds to just the last word. Tell us.
Last words are for Sheikh, you, Niamat, Sarah, your whole family. I love you guys. I really love you guys. I appreciate you having me on your show. It really means a lot to me. I know it's a whole big production. You guys take a lot of time out to make this happen. Your staff is incredible. So first, thank you for you guys. And I just want to say I love you before the show, but I love for you having me on the show. So thank you so much. From the viewers, the one thing, or the audience, I really want them to know, health doesn't have to start with me. It's not about, everyone hopping on my calendar. I'm not looking for that call to action. I want to implore people to really start to go deeper than conversation regarding what their back does for them. Take their spinal health beyond neck and back pain. There's other things you can do. One of my favorite things to do to wrap up is hanging upside down, is inversion therapy. If you Google it, there's all types of tables out there that can assist you in the process. And there's all types of things. There's never been a better time to look into your spine and work your spine. You can go to Amazon. There's all types of cool things to help reinforce angles and alignment in the spine, to take pressure off the bones and the joints and the discs. We need to start to build this more into our lifestyle. It never replaces the adjustment, but it's stuff that you never need me for. So at minimum, I'd like people to buy into, let me start to maybe decompress my spine, lengthen my spine, put movement back into my spine, and see if it pays out at the end of the week, if I have more energy, if I stand up taller, if I'm not complaining as much. That would be very small wins for me, and that would be a great way to thank me for my time on the show. Because if I can have a message from someone saying, dude, I've been doing this or that, and I feel better, or I'm getting adjusted, and I'm noticing this, man, that's fuel to my passionate fire right there.
Beautiful. So you need to do me a favor, Dr. Zev. You need to tell Niamat that he needs to continue doing this program for us because, he works at NBC and he gives that's his job. Then he wouldn't want to care to do this program for us. He'd want to charge us in Alhikmat. So you need to tell him he needs to do this as a community service also, and you will continue your additional service to him so we could keep this program on air.
Let's take it to even the next level. Make sure all you guys stay tuned into Sheikh's channel. Amazing stuff. Follow, like, subscribe, share, and always tune in. You're a beautiful man and a brilliant man. But I will say one thing. Your son takes after you. I can't tell either of you anything.
Oh, all right, sir.
So, I say one thing to Niamat, and it's like, you know what I'm talking about. In one ear, out the other ear. And sometimes I can see it's the same with you. You guys are so focused on one thing, but I will continue, as I do with you, to plant those seeds with him and with you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zev. And to our audience out there, it was really a pleasure. We have learned so much. We have benefited so much. We got to get Dr. Zev Melman back on this program with his experience, his knowledge, his services. Wow, it has been a great benefit.
We should do it live and do it with an adjustment.
Oh, that might be. So you see, this is where we need Niamat again to come with the cameras and to set up that recording so we could show some live action to our viewers.
Some live action and really connect the dots further. And I can talk and work at the same time and make it not just lip service, but real service.
Okay, so
Okay.
we're gonna have both of us got a whole Niyama to do that show, to bring the cameras at your office and get these live recordings, and we can make some action and get more people to benefit from your services. All right.
Absolutely.
Good. So to our viewers again, thank you very much for tuning in to Alhikmat TV 24/7 online. I'm sure you benefited as I benefited, and the world will benefit from Dr. Zev's advice and experience. So until then, always stay tuned to Alhikmat TV 24/7 online. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.